Open qualifying is on for the semi-final of AROC 2. We've taken these gorgeous V8 supercars and put them on the streets of the park in Montreal on the Notre Dame River. I'm Rick James. Welcome to the semi-final of AROC 2. We are underway. We are 3 minutes into this 10-minute qualifying session. Many of these drivers sitting on their first lap. 6 minutes, 30 remaining. Riding along with Thursday Night Thunder champion Aiden Norman. Just getting warmed up and getting their chance to get a good feel for the racetrack before we go racing for 20 laps. Briley Wright also participating in this qualifying session. So far, 8 drivers are in this session here, including Montreal's Ryan Pennell. This guy right here in the black Ford Mustang. Just outside Montreal, we should mention, but Ryan coming home to roost. The Canadian driver trying to get his first win in AROC. These are the way that the points line up. Aiden Norman comes into this race with a 6-point advantage on the rest of the competition. He leads, a 4-point advantage. He leads Briley Wright by 4 digits in this race, in this event, in the semifinal. And it certainly isn't over until it's over. The points are sequential here. Let's take a look here. So it's just a 4-point gap between these pilots, and we'll see just exactly the way that everything pans out after the semifinal. A little bit of a camera hiccup there. Ryan getting on the clock. Let's go on board with the Canadian and see how he handles Circuit Gilles Villeneuve. Ryan doing well to keep it off the wall of champions in Montreal, and he looks like that might have just been his outlap there. Ryan just putting up a time so far. Aiden Norman, the North Carolinian, sitting in that first position, top of the tree. He is 1/10 of a second ahead of this man here, Pennsylvania's Jeremy Brio, winning the race last week under the lights of Homestead, Miami. Jeremy letting the competition just go right on by. How about this driver here, Virginia's Tommy Withers. Now on to the racetrack in Montreal. And we'll see what the pilot of the mint-colored Holden Commodore can do. Oh, Withers just holds on to it. A big spill for Tommy Withers. But way to hang on to the race car there. He gives it a big spin. Oh, he's gone around again in a big crash for the Virginian. He's going to go right back to the pits, and we'll see if he can put together a lap time. Before time expires, we have a $1:30 to go in qualifying. It goes Aiden Norman, Jeremy Brio, Jimmy Kerr, your top three. Separated by just a tenth and a little bit. Jimmy Kerr, 6 seconds off the top two. And how about John Honeybrink? Looks like this final lap may not count for Honeybrink. The only other driver currently on the move, Briley Wright from Greensburg, Kentucky, with 56 seconds to go. Looks like he's going to come to a really slow pace as he crosses the line. JK3, Jimmy Kerr, the third on the charts. JK3 putting up a time, 1:45.61. He'll be rolling off third, and he spins it out of the first corner. Kentucky's Briley Wright now out of the first couple corners and coming along what you might call the mid-stretch or the back stretch. $54 miles is the scheduled distance today. Drivers won't be able to go more than 15 laps on one tank of fuel. They only get 2 tire changes, so they've got to be careful. And of course, one fast repair. This is the first time the ARC's Race of Champions has come to the banks of the Notre Dame River. Briley Wright will jump right to pit road, and qualifying has come to a close. Aiden Norman in the 6'2" green machine will start on pole for the semifinal of AROC 2. Qualifying comes to an end, and we're going to get racing for 20 laps in Montreal. If you've just joined us, don't go anywhere. You will not miss a thing. We'll be back with the start, the standing start, and lights out for the AROC semifinal. Cars are loading in. You start to hear the rumble of those V8 engines. Aiden Norman in the 6-2 sits on the pole, waiting for the red lights to go out and the semi-final of AROC 2 to get underway. JK3 lining up behind him, third on the grid. We're about to get racing. 20 full laps is what we're after, waiting for the lights to shut off so these race cars can go, and they're off. Tommy Withers, Ryan Pennell, Tommy Reynolds, all just getting a slow start. Aiden Norman pulling away with Jeremy Brio in quick chase. Norman, 1.2 seconds ahead. It's Holden, Ford, Holden, Ryan Pennell, the local driver, the Canadian in that black Mustang, chasing down John Honeybrink for fifth. Honeybrink spins it under braking, headed into chicane 1. He's gone around. Ryan Pennell is into fifth, and Tommy Withers hot on his tail, going into the hairpin. Riley Wright looks like he's had issues. Drivers have to be careful. These tires are still cold. Let's see what happened to the Kentucky pilot. Oh, John Honeybrink spins it under braking, and that's where he gets into Riley Wright. He goes into the access road, and it spins the Kentucky pilot around. Briley in the hunt. Look at leader Aiden Norman just hopping over those curbs. Jeremy Brio being less aggressive into the first corner, driving into the sun. Tommy Withers all over the back end of Ryan Pennell. Let's go on board with the Canadian. You see a big scrape on the left-hand side of points leader Aiden Norman. He has binned it. The green 6-2 in deep trouble, and he's let the Ford of Jeremy Brio take the lead. Blue ovals to the top in Canada. Norman with a big slide out of the hairpin. JK3 now behind him. Brio in the lead, 9 seconds ahead of Aiden Norman, and he's lost control into the wall of champions. Brio looking to hang on to it. Jeremy all over the place. He's backed his Mustang into the wall of champions. Here comes Aiden Norman into the final chicane. Calm under braking, and now on the hunt. Into the sun he goes. Aiden Norman now behind Jeremy Brio, and look who's gone purple. Quebecois Ryan Pennell from the 5th position. He's up 1 place from where he started. He's got 1:44 dead on the clock. He is the fastest driver so far, chasing down Briley Wright in the 8. Jeremy Brio still up by 3.5 seconds. Let's see what happened to Aiden Norman where he lost control of his race car. This is on lap number 2. The North Carolinian gives it a heavy slam through turns 3 and 4. And it looks like he's going to suffer again. This is, oh, look at the spin there by Aiden Norman and Jeremy Brio taking advantage. Norman still stuck, finally gets his race car going again just before Jimmy Kerr can get to him. And that's how Norman picked up that giant stripe, but it's the Pennsylvanian who's now gone purple. 1:41.64, Jeremy Brio, fastest in Montreal. Honeybrink struggling tonight. This is in the hairpin. Driver of the 20 just goes around, just puts too much power into the back end. Tommy Reynolds out of this race. He has DNF'd. I don't know if he even started that one. He may be a DNS. Jimmy Kerr with trouble as well. Luckily, not a spin for him. Jeremy Brio, however. Sorry for the flash there. Didn't mean for that. Came right up on the iRacing camera. Brio 2 seconds ahead and then some. Ryan Pennell all over the back end of Briley Wright. There's the battle for the lead. Here's the battle for 4th. We've run 3 laps so far. We're about to complete this 3rd lap. That's what the gap looks like between now Briley Wright, Ryan Pennell, and Tommy Withers. Back to the Kentucky pilot. Tommy Withers may have just gone around. Last time around, Ryan Pennell 1.8 seconds quicker. Aiden Norman has gone purple. There's been a big change, and it's Jimmy Kerr III who's gone around in the hairpin. Kerr has lost it. Let's see what happened to Tommy Withers earlier. Oh, he just loses it. Heavy under braking. Looks like into turns 5 and 6. And then let's see what happened to Jimmy Kerr in the hairpin. Spins it again like Honeybrink right ahead of Briley Wright. There goes the battle between them. This is Aiden Norman now battling with Jeremy Brio for the top spot. Side by side into the corners. Tommy Withers has gone around again. This is Brio getting around Norman into the same chicane. Live pictures now. Aiden Norman, purple, 1:39.11. He's 0.8 of a second off of race leader Jeremy Brio. It'll be 15 laps to go this time by. And again, the drivers cannot make it on fuel. They must pit. You can hear Brio just stamping on the gas. Jeremy Brio, 5 laps into this race, 1 second ahead of Aiden Norman. Briley Wright, 20 seconds off the fight for the top 2, and Canadian Ryan Pennell, 2.5 seconds behind him. Let's see what happened to Tommy Withers. This is the Virginian falling off the racetrack. John Honeybrink had an incident here. Oh, he just had to come to a halt to avoid falling off the track again. Honeybrink finds himself in the 7th position. There's Tommy Withers in 6th. just trying to survive, doing his best. Briley Wright in third, 22 seconds off the fight for the lead. It looks like Aiden Norman gets around Jeremy Brio down the stretch. Brio will have a run headed into the hairpin. Heavy block by Aiden Norman. Brio almost loses control of his race car. Norman breaks away from Brio. 14 to go this time by. Into the final chicane, now towards the wall of champions. Aiden Norman attacking those curves. Rio now following him. Okay, but really, Aiden Norman's going after those curves like they owe him money or something. He is after it right now. Lucky number 13 laps to go next time by. Remember, this is where Norman lost it before. He leads the points by 4 markers headed into this race. That is what it looks like right now. John Honeybrink once again falls off the racetrack. Same place, different spin. Honeybrink keeps it pushing. 2 drivers go green. Briley Wright, 144 and change. Ryan Pennell, 143.62. The Canadian is on it. Jeremy Brio's gone off the racetrack from the 2nd position. He clips the grass coming into the chicane, gives it a drift through the left-hander, and chasing Aiden Norman into the hairpin. The North Carolinian leads the race 4.5 seconds. Now the gap between the lead Holden and the 2nd place Ford. Holden sits in 3rd. Ford sits in 4th. 1.89 seconds between these two. Let's go on board. Let's ride with Briley Wright coming out of the hairpin. Briley Wright just inviting the pass from Ryan Pennell, side by side into the corner. There goes Wright to the inside. Ryan Pennell's going to do it the hard way around Briley Wright, and he spins coming out of turn number 2. Pennell had it. Briley Wright moves on, and the Canadian, tasting bronze, has spun it away and invited James Kerr III to come take 4th away from the Quebecois. Ryan Pennell into 4th, Jimmy Kerr in 5th, and Briley Wright walking away with the 3rd spot. Pennell goes wide again, JK3 into the 4th position, and just like that, the Canadian goes down from 3rd to 5th. Briley Wright holding on to that 3rd position. Jeremy Brio in 2nd. And Aiden Norman leading this race. Although Pennell did just go green last time around, 143.25. Big blink from Ryan Pennell. Looks like we've just lost Tommy Nope, Withers still running. But it looks like he just fell off the track, and Ryan Pennell might have just had an incident. Big blink from the Georgian, and there he reappears just right there, and internet connectivity issues so far for Ryan Pennell. How about Tommy Withers? What happened to him? Did he give it another spin? Oh yeah, spun it like Wheel of Fortune. Has to back up and avoid the wall. Tommy Withers sitting in the 6th spot right now. coming through that final chicane. Tommy Withers sitting in 6th. John Honeybrink with another incident. The 20 car has gone around their second place, Jeremy Brio, and Honeybrink just trying to hold on to her. What is he going to do? He's got to be careful not to go backwards too far. He might end up DQ'd. Honeybrink holding on to that 7th spot confidently, and you've got to give it to John Honeybrink. He has not let that 7th position go. Honeybrink loves that 7th place. Briley right now coming up behind him. He's 24 seconds off of Jeremy Brio. However, the drivers must pit. They will not have the fuel to go the distance. Will it be strategy? Ryan Pennell falls off the track. Tommy Withers some great distance behind him. And this would be as good a time as ever to take a look at those AROC track facts. While we do, shout out to everybody watching on iRock TV. Shout out to Stan Carnathan. Shout out to Brian Reck. Shout out to everybody that has anything to do with these productions. It takes work, and we appreciate everyone tuning in. 2.71 miles. Certainly going to be the longest circuit we run at the incredibly world-famous circuit Gilles Villeneuve. Drivers only get 2 tire changes, so if it comes to a last-minute tire change, they've got to be careful. And as always, just the one fast repair. Been racing here since 1978. What was called the Montreal Circuit, now named after legendary Canadian driver Gilles Villeneuve. And the caution has come out. Yellow flag is out in Montreal. Jimmy Kerr, Ryan Pennell crashing. Jeremy Brio also having an incident. Let's see what happened here. There he is with a spin. Was there any more contact? Brio goes around, then Jimmy Kerr has an incident. Ryan Pennell coming. You see the brake lights right on the 12. He also spins. He crashes. Caution flies in Montreal. One more look. Drivers are going to get a chance to fix their race cars. Kerr goes, and here goes Pennell. Both drivers go for a ride. Aiden Norman right now your race leader in that 6-2. Let's bother the North Carolinian for a hot second. Aiden Norman, Rick James up top. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
You're leading this race right now with Jeremy Brio. Back on your heels, both of you guys have actually gone through some heavy spills in this race. We're going to have just under 7 laps to go when we get going again. How tough is it to focus and make sure that you keep the car in one piece?
Focusing is alright. It's about typical to any other race, but the track is just tough. I don't know what it is. I'm not sure if these cars just don't like the chicanes, but it's a struggle to keep it going straight. You saw me on one of the first laps out, just completely outbrake myself. Like, it's tough, but we're having fun. Me and Jeremy have had some good battles. Not sure what all you've caught on camera, but I hope you've caught some of them because it's been a lot of fun.
It's been a thrill. It's been an absolute thrill. It's a lot of fun. watching you guys take on Montreal. Looks like John Honeybrink is going to get a lap back here. But we're going to bunch you guys back up, and we're going to send you around. Now, my question for you, Aiden, is what's it going to take to beat Jeremy Brio? Obviously, you can't make any more mistakes here. And he can't make any more mistakes either, but you also have a points lead to protect, Aiden. You're only 4 points ahead of Briley Wright. Everyone's going to have fresh tires, fresh fuel, and of course, the fast repair is there. You may have used it, you may not have used it, but it's going to be tight in these last 7 or 8 laps. What's the hardest part? We saw you go around in a couple places here. What's the toughest part on this racetrack for you?
I think the toughest corner is, so let me see, I don't know, turn 5. What is it? Not this one, but the next set of corners up to the next chicane. As I outbrake myself there. But to beat Jeremy, I think I have a little bit more pace than he does right now, but you know Jeremy, he's always going to end up finding something before the end of the race. So if I can keep him behind me on the restart, that's going to be a good thing, and I'm just going to go from there, basically. Can't really plan ahead with the way we're all making mistakes.
Turn 8 and 9 lead into the hairpin, where you gave Jeremy Brio a strong block to defend the lead early in this race. How prepared are you to throw another block, knowing that this time Jeremy may be a little less patient to get around?
I'll probably still throw it. I've won the last 2 road courses in AROC, so going for the hat trick, getting all 3, that would be kind of nice. So I'm here to win for sure. But at the same time, I do know I don't want to just get completely murdered. So if I think Jeremy's behind me and he's ready to go at it, gloves off, then I might just let him by. We'll have to see. It's just going to be a case-by-case basis.
It's only a 4-point lead headed into next week's final from the Kansas Speedway. Aiden, keep it exciting, man. Keep it exciting. Enjoy yourself, and we'll see what these last few laps turn out for us, man.
All right.
So the North Carolinian will cross the line as John Honeybrink comes down pit road. We eagerly await those yellow lights to shut off atop the pace car, and they do. We will restart this race with 8 laps to go, if my math is correct. 7 laps to go. I'm sorry, there it is. 7 laps to go is what we'll have when the race picks back up. And how about this? Jimmy Kerr III, his pit stop, taking more than, let's see, Aiden Norman with an 18-second pit stop, Jimmy Kerr with an 18-second pit stop, Jeremy Brio with a 42-second pit stop. Jeremy probably fixing that damage that he had on that race car. Briley Wright also in the pits for about 33 seconds, fixing some of that damage. Ryan Pennell fixing not much, a total pit stop time of 19 seconds. So Pennell looks like he might just have a more stable car than Wright. Here are the points once again. Briley sitting in second right now, 4 points off the lead. This could make or break the title champion. The ARC's Race of Champions will go down to next week's final at the Kansas Speedway Oval. Race 6 of 6 to complete the second edition of this competition. Norman, Kerr, Brio. Your top 3 coming to the start-finish line. It will be 7 laps to go. These drivers have to remember they're going to be on cold tires. They cannot mess this up. Who do you got? Put it in the chat. Is it the North Carolinian Aiden Norman? Is it North Carolina's Jimmy Kerr? Pennsylvania's Jeremy Brio? Greensburg, Kentucky's Briley Wright? How about the local driver from 5th? Montreal, Canada's Ryan Pennell. The Canadian pilot will try to get the W on his home track. 6 drivers lining up with a chance to win, honestly. John Honeybrink, a lap off the pace. Here comes Tommy Withers. He's going to have an advantage. Withers coming up to join the field will have warm tires when we restart this race. The green flag will fly. It will be 7 laps to go. Let's go racing again under the setting sun of Montreal.
Green flag, green flag.
Heavy contact, Brio, Norman, wrestling, just bouncing off of each other. Norman goes for a spill. Briley Wright's in second. Jimmy Kerr sitting behind him after Ryan Pennell and Kerr both slammed the wall off the restart. We stay green. Withers loses control off the racetrack. It's lights on and Brio to the lead in Montreal. John Honeybrink has another incident. He sits in 7th. Jeremy Brio leading Briley Wright by 2 seconds. Aiden Norman sitting in 6th. Tommy Withers in 5th. Jimmy Kerr 3rd right now, 1 second off of Briley Wright. And as the points stand going, there goes Tommy Withers into the wall of champions. John Honeybrink goes around him. That puts Aiden Norman in 5th. And I was just going to say, as it stands, Briley Wright will go into the final tied on points with Aiden Norman. But Norman looks like he'll have 1 more point than Briley right now. Jeremy Brio leading Briley Wright by 4 seconds. Here comes JK3, Jimmy Kerr the 3rd behind Greensburg, Kentucky's Briley Wright. Ryan Pennell sitting in 4th. There's Aiden Norman, 6 seconds off of Pennell. Brio leading. Kerr behind the Kentucky pilot. Here comes Pennell. It's Ford, Holden. Holden, your top 3. Jimmy Kerr puts too much power down out of the hairpin. Pennell with a great toe headed towards the wall of champions. There goes Kerr. He's lost it coming into the final chicane. Just misses Ryan Pennell. Aiden Norman now catching up to Jimmy Kerr the 3rd. And if Norman gets around Kerr, he will have the points lead for now. Norman does get around Kerr. He does get into the 4th position. Aiden Norman. Will he get squirrely under braking? Jimmy Kerr right behind him. And as the points run with 4 laps to go, Aiden Norman has a 1-point lead on Briley Wright headed into next week's final. Here comes Ryan Pennell. He wants a piece of 2nd place. right. Pennell, Norman into the final chicane. Pennell's got to be cool under braking. 3 more laps. "42 more corners for Ryan Pennell to hold off Thursday Night Thunder champion Aiden Norman. Briley Wright in second. And he spun it, right spun it. Pennell's gone into the wall, and Aiden Norman with a free pass into second place. An uncontested challenge into second, and it was that easy for the North Carolinian Briley Wright and Ryan Pennell, both allowing Norman through. And here's Jimmy Kerr in his rose-colored Commodore coming up behind the charcoal Mustang of Ryan Pennell and the ivory Holden Commodore of Briley Wright. Look at Jimmy Kerr just all up the inside. Ryan Pennell does it the hard way and gets around Briley Wright. That deserves a replay. Just out-braking Briley Wright. Jimmy Kerr almost missing the mark entirely. Ryan Pennell in that third position, just ahead of Briley Wright. Jimmy Kerr sitting in fifth. The Canadian sitting in the bronze medal spot just for now. Aiden Norman 7.5 seconds behind Jeremy Brio. It will be 2 laps to go next time by. Briley Wright chasing down Pennell. It's the battle we've seen all night long. 1.25 seconds between this Ford versus GM fight for the podium. Jimmy Kerr goes off the racetrack. John Honeybrink also spins it too. Pennell leading right around the hairpin. It will be 2 more attempts. Briley Wright behind Ryan Pennell. Briley's in the wall. Briley makes contact with the concrete wall, and now he's at a big disadvantage to Ryan Pennell. It's this man's race to lose. He's inside the final 2 laps. Jeremy Brio sits ahead of Aiden Norman by 12 seconds. Ryan Pennell sitting in third, 2 seconds ahead of Briley Wright, who spins it into turn number 1, and Ryan Pennell just has to keep it on the racetrack, and third place goes to Canada. Aiden Norman and Jeremy Brio racing for the United States. Brio's gone around. Jeremy Brio spins it. His race to lose, and with a 12-second gap, he's lost control of his Mustang. Jeremy Brio, that gap goes down to 7 seconds. Aiden Norman must also be careful not to screw up the race car. Ryan Pennell speeds into the hairpin. 7 seconds ahead of Jimmy Kerr. Briley Wright now facing a 4-point deficit to Aiden Norman in this race. That will be an 8-point gap into the final race next week at Kansas. Jeremy Brio speeding off into the night. He collects the white flag, and Aiden Norman is 7 seconds behind the Pennsylvanian. All Jeremy has to do is not make a mistake, and he can cruise to the end. This is the gap over the last 5 laps. Six and a half seconds. Norman has to wait for a mistake from Brio. Jeremy driving a brilliant race, and when the time came, he took it. He scraped hard with Aiden Norman. They clashed just off that restart. 8 seconds now the gap. Aiden Norman hoping for a mistake from the Pennsylvanian, but it will take a miracle at this point. Norman speeding off into the Canadian night, while Jeremy Brio has one last blast down the front straight. There you see the green Holden of Aiden Norman coming around the hairpin. Jeremy Brio with 2 more corners to go. He will leapfrog from 4th all the way up to 3rd in the points. He did what he had to do tonight, and the first AROC race in Canada will go to Pennsylvania's Jeremy Brio. We will see you next week at Kansas. Brio with the win. Aiden Norman coming home in 2nd. Jeremy quick to celebrate in the 7-4, a donut in that first corner. Aiden Norman, after that restart, may have some words for Brio. Let's have a look at that replay from the restart. Line, he catches the curb and slams into Aiden. They keep on racing. Aiden Norman with a big spin, and he struggles to regain control of the race car. Have another look. Oh, you saw he just snapped under braking. He just lost the car under braking. They make contact again, and Aiden goes for a spill. One more look. Jeremy Brio survives the best of that exchange to get the checkered flag. And Montreal, the Pennsylvanian, will speed around and celebrate. He has earned it, a huge jump over the wall of champions. Jeremy celebrates in style in Canada. And he loses the rear wing for good measure. So Jeremy will do donuts. He will collect his very, very well-earned celebrations. We're going to gather the top 3. Don't forget, Canadian Ryan Pennell secures the 3rd position for Ford. and we'll talk to them in just a moment. Don't go anywhere, fans. Podium in just a moment. On the podium now, talking to our third place finisher, the local driver, Montreal's very own Ryan Pannell, with a bronze medal in his home race. Ryan, an incredibly good job. Well done. And you're now 6th in the points. You're only 5 points off the podium headed into next week's race.
Yeah, honestly, I have no idea how I'm here. I don't know if I got lost or what, but yeah, definitely very, very, very rare for me to be on podium in a road course race. So we had a couple guys in front of us had some issues and couldn't keep it on the track, and I just stayed consistent. I was slow, but just kept it on the track and knew I had nothing for Jeremy or Aiden. They were just, way, way faster. So I was just trying to, stay consistent and keep it on the track for, to finish third, and that's what we did, and we accomplished it. So mission accomplished.
And next week, you get to the final at Kansas with a chance to hit the podium. Ryan, we will see you next week. Congratulations on third.
Thanks, bud.
Our second place finisher, North Carolina's Aiden Norman, a silver medal tonight after some intense racing, and you will carry a 7-point lead into next week's championship final at Kansas.
Yeah, that was a really fun race, to be honest. Again, the track was not the best for these cars. I mean, it was fun, but it's just the cars don't really like the movements that you have to make on this track. But me and Jeremy did a good job of racing side by side with each other, and we had some pretty close battles. So hopefully it was good looking on the broadcast, and I know it was good looking in car. So
it was really impressive. It was a great race to watch. You're gonna have that 7-point lead into next week's final over Briley Wright, and literally anything can happen. So we'll see you next week, and we'll see what happens with the title decider.
all right, thanks, Rick. Also, shout out to iRacing's penalty system, because I could have chased Jeremy down, but I kept getting 2-second slowdowns, and I'm not happy about it, but it's whatever.
They're there for a reason. Congratulations on that silver medal. Maybe one guy who's pretty happy about iRacing's penalty systems is Jeremy Brio. JB, you did your thing. You did your thing. You got the second win. You and Aiden Norman are actually now tied with wins in this second edition of AROC, and you're only 1 point away from finishing on the podium in points, and you're 10 markers behind Briley Wright.
Awesome. That's good to hear. I mean, for missing how many races I did, that's pretty cool. But yeah, first of all, I got to thank iRacing's penalty system for keeping Aiden that far back. But other than that, it was a lot of fun between me and Aiden. He drove me as clean as we possibly could drive together without killing each other, and then eventually we just killed each other because the cars just can't handle too much movement in the steering wheel. But other than that, it was a lot of fun. I love Montreal. Kind of a pseudo home race for me because I'm part French Canadian, so that's kind of cool to win here. But other than that, man, the second win in a row, that's pretty cool.
2 wins in a row. You go for the hat trick next week at Kansas. 2 French Canadians on the podium, and you're 1 point away from scoring a podium finish in AROC. Congratulations on the win, JB. We will see you next week in the Heartland for the title decider.
Thank you, Rick.
Fans at home, the semi-final was electric, and next week we close it all. The closing ceremonies from the Oval at Kansas right here on iRock TV and Rick James TV. Do not miss that final, and until next Thursday night, please stay safe. Everybody take care of each other, and we will see you all for next week's final